Hello and welcome to video blog 5. It's been a few nights now since I've made a video and I've had a lot of channeling coming through, so I thought I would update you. So here we go with all the channeling that has been written down for the last couple of nights. Karagong is somehow connected to King KHUFU. That's the king I had standing behind me at the sacred site in the corridor of hieroglyphs. So after researching this king, I found out that he was the second pharaoh for the 4th dynasty of the Old Kingdom of ancient Egypt. But also psychically, I felt that there was another king before him that also came to Karagong, and then Osiris before that king as well. So there's like been 3 different royals that have been there and have come back several different times as well. I also feel that King KHUFU was the 3rd royal presence at the site. He's even been there 3 times or 3 before him, but there's definitely that trinity connected there as well. I also saw King KHUFU was a different person after his first trip to Karagong. Before that, he was quite a tyrant and a power-hungry king that had a lot of slaves and ruled with an iron fist. But on his return after losing his son, he became softer and more repenting, and he built a giant pyramid in honor of his dead son. Instead of slaves building the Great Pyramid of Giza, he used farmers, and he paid them very well with food and drink and grains and taxes off their land because they were helping him to build it. So many farmers came from very far and wide, so they wouldn't have the taxes on their land and they would help build the pyramid. It was quite an honor for their family to do that as well. They grew to trust the king again and to like the king again. I wouldn't say they all had respect for him because there were still those old memories of how he used to be, but he was definitely gaining their trust back. I'm being told now by the king that he was not, how would I put it, that his body was never in the Great Pyramid of Giza, that it was built for his son, but his son body wasn't there either. It was more to contain the spirit of his son and not the physical body of his son. I also get told, getting a flash of that Sphinx, that it's at Lion Island, and how I know it as the sarcophagus. He's saying, isn't it funny that they keep implanting the information about Lion Rock, since it's so protected by the government and you can't actually get on it, and they're saying it's fairy penguins. Well, I don't think so at all. I'm being told now by the king that he's telling me it's the temple of Thoth, and in one of the chambers in there in the temple there's actually scrolls that Thoth did, but he collected it somewhere else and brought it to there for safekeeping, and so no one would find it. So it's funny that the government is really protecting that area, because I don't think they want that sort of information out, that it's the Temple of Thoth. Not only do we have that down in Gosford, but we've also got the Temple of Isis and the Temple of Osiris and the House of Ra in Uluru. They will all come out one day, and they will be one of my adventures to go and find it. But they are there, and it's just a matter of time until they come out. Also, what am I getting? There's lots of rooms, there's lots of chambers underneath that, what looks like a sarcophagus to me, also known as the Sphinx rocks. There's lots of chambers, there's lots of tunnels going underneath that go up to a waterfall and then up over to Karagong to sacred sites, and there's lots of underground tunnels connecting all different sacred sites together. They will be found at a later date as well, and then everyone will see how they accessed all these areas really quickly. What else am I getting? Rooms, secret tunnels, secret chambers, all linked to Karagong site, an underground network. I can see myself walking underneath the tunnel, and I can see myself going towards a waterfall that leads to a waterfall, because I can hear the water coming, and I'm entering into like a cave system where the tunnel ends, and I can see like a rainbow serpent on the cave, and it's black and white. And I feel like that is a very significant place for birthing, of women's birthing, and for ceremonies, and for the water, for the amplifier, and for the crystals in the cave as an amplifier. I was told by Ozzy here that after the Egyptians left, they left because their king had died and he was placed into the tombs, and one of the royal sons, even though I'm being told he had 9, there was only 3 that went with him to Karagong, and one of them died, and the king died, so it left the 2 sons, and the elder son had to get back to Egypt to take the royal throne and to show the people that the sons were still alive, and that there was someone there to take over the kingdoms. So I thought he had to get back to his throne and do his blood right, his blood right there, you know, to show people he was still alive. So they returned, but they didn't take the king's body or the son's body. They're left in the tombs, and they have been found over the years. And one day, the people who owns the bodies that they're found there will bring them to light, and DNA and carbon dating and everything else will be done on them. I don't think the kings or the sons will be too happy about that, but I see it will happen. So they return back on their ship, and then I'm not talking a UFO ship, I'm talking like a boat, a ship, and then they went back and they claimed their birthright in Egypt. And then he had saw what the king had done for one of the sons that had died, and saw the Great Giza pyramid, and he added to it. But he knew his father didn't want to promote it as his, or promote, you know, the glory of it. So he just placed small little statues of King Khufu in the pyramid itself, but only small ones, just a little token of saying, thank you, Father, and we know what you have done here. And they wanted to just pay a little bit of pilgrimage to him, but without going into full ego about it. So that's where I keep seeing these little statues of King Khufu have come from. I also see psychically on the walls at the tomb, especially in the 3rd layer down where the king was, I see along these flat-faced walls that were perfectly cut, I see gold colored paint, or gold colored tainted, and they're like golden rainbows all along there. And I see paintings of stories that the king had done, real honor to the king down there. I think a lot of it has faded away, but if you could still get down to the 3rd layer of that tomb, you would be able to do some try to trace element of paint, and you would find that there was once all paintings covering all of those walls. Again, King Khufu, it wasn't a burial tomb for him at Great Giza. He was only in charge to commission to build it for his son. It was definitely a master design, and it points to actually his real tomb. So people who are working with the Great Giza need to look at the Australian connection there, or the Mu connection there, because I think the alignment of it all would definitely go straight through Karagong, and they would find out that's what it was made for as well, to honor the king and to honor his son, who's both buried there. As I said before, the king had changed. He wasn't concerned anymore with ego. This pyramid was to honor his dead son, also that was buried at Karagong. And when the Egyptians left, then the Aboriginal used the tunnels for shortcuts to get to their birthing caves, also near the waterfall. I see these birthing caves as shelter areas where the Aboriginal women would go to give birth, but I also see a burial ground to the right-hand side of the waterfall. Outside the little pond there, up a little bit, I see a burial ground, and that's where the babies that are miscarried or stillborn were placed in the burial grounds there. The babies that did make it were taken up to the nurseries or up to the shelter caves up further, up the top. Um, oh, la, 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 la. As I talked about in Rainbow Serpent Warriors tour documentary, I also got told that the Aboriginal midwives helped the 20 virgin Egyptian women who were giving birth at the same waterfall, just at a different area set aside for them. Again, I felt like they all worked together, that the Aboriginals would come in and help them with their babies and help deliver them and then help look after them, that they all did try to work as one. And then again, after returning the babies, they would take them up to the nursery area, which is in the documentary where my channelings explain the nursing area. They would take the babies up there, and again, the midwives would come in and out and help with the babies. And this little nursery was very dark and very cool, and it was very calming energy for the babies, so they wouldn't be exposed to the sun, they wouldn't be exposed to wind or rain, and it was very cool and very calm for them, so the babies did love being in there. Ozzy just stated that many people think Mu, which is the first civilization or the place of creation, is in Hawaii. But Ozzy just said to me, it's not in Hawaii at all. It's actually in Australia. You've just got to go to the sacred lands and ask the sacred people their wisdom, and they will tell you creation started here by star beings. So we are Mu. And that's why we're all trying to connect back into that energy and to work it all out. So video blogs number 6, just a continuation of video blog number 5 as I run out of storage again. And so basically what I was saying, Australia is the Mu. MU, which is the first civilization. Also New Zealand and Tasmania are also in that, as they were once connected to the mainland in those times, so they do have very much Mu energy around them as well. So they are included into that category. I've also been getting strong information from a high priest that was at Karagong, who is the protector and is the guardian of the land there. He's very well known in Egypt for his magic and for his rituals and for his ways and for his inside information. So he's definitely an important guardian to ask for information there. He also allows the right people onto the site and what information they will actually receive. So he knows what he's doing. Again, on the site, on the top ridge where I found what were the Aboriginal shelters when I went for the walk on my own, which is in the documentary, Ozzy had said that's where they stored their food and where they slept and where they got out of the rain and where they would sit up there and just observe what the Egyptians were doing as well. And that was their little area, their little sacred spot. But I also feel like in the middle between a tribe, there was a special cave that this high priest lived in with his family and his apprentices, and the scribe was also living in one of those caves as well. That I feel like the high priest and the scribe were two different entities. They used to talk and compare notes and work on things together. And where I told was his cave, as that day I happened to find the Eye of Horus. And when I was talking to this high priest last night, he said that it's where I found that Eye of Horus. He doesn't like to call it that. He likes to call it the Eye of Ra, was out the front of his cave. So that was his dwelling and his home that I came across that day. Didn't know why and why it was important, but I do know now. I was definitely connecting into him and his energy. So he was there, and out the front of that cave there's a little flat rock that's kind of like a little sitting area, but I feel like that's where him and the scribe used to sit and talk over matters and what rituals they needed to do, and blessings of children and blessing of the lands and blessing of the tunnels, and that they would oversee everything, and they would walk down the tunnels together and go to Lion Rock and put all of their information, like all of their spiritual information, to tablets over there and on markings and glyphs and things like that over there. So they were definitely invoking Thoth's energy and putting his wisdom and knowledge into that place. I'm sure they were aware that it was the Temple of Thoth, and I'm sure they were aware that there were scrolls there, and they were just adding to it with their knowledge. I kept asking him his name, and I kept getting something like IMP, HOP, sorry, and then TR or something like that. I can't pronounce it. I'm not sure if that name even exists as a high priest, but Imhotep or Imhotep was something like that, but very well known, very bold hair, no hair at all, completely bald, very youngish face, longish face, very athletic sort of a body, but skinny and tall, but the kind of the broad shoulders and the pecs and the nice stomach. You know, he was very fit and very healthy, but bald. You know, he loved that look of being bald, and he would wear the robes with like a golden thing across here. That's how I keep seeing him in my visions, and who keeps standing and talking to me. So that's just more information about him. And when I do go back to Karagong, I will definitely spend more time up on that ridge and check out each and every one of those caves and try to work out which one is the scribe cave and which one is this high priest cave, because I would like to just connect him more there. So that's about it for now. Had a busy couple of nights with all my channeling. As you know, I start channeling at 12 p.m. and I usually finish up about 3 a.m. every night. And then I go to sleep and I get up at 10 a.m. That's my nightly ritual. That's when I receive the information. Again, I'm always connected into Isis's energy, and I love working with her because she's just so dominant and full on and strong, and feeds me a lot of information. So thank you, everyone. Until the next blog, angels blessings. Bye. The high priestess that I see in my visions. These are the step pyramids that the high priest had built. In my visions, I kept getting something about a red pyramid, but I'll have to do more research on the red pyramid. These are the sons that I talked to on site, ones that had died, or one did. And this is the other son that I was communicating with on site, but was still alive and went back home to claim the throne. And this was the king on site that was standing behind me in the corridors of hieroglyphs that was communicating with me. And the sons, the 9 sons, and the 5 daughters. The king's name in hieroglyphs. The ring that they found that belonged to the king, which many of these markings are actually on the hieroglyphs at Caradon. Boats they used to travel to Australia, and hieroglyphs found showing the boats in Australia. A picture of the Westcar papyrus and the scrolls. The tales from the Westcar papyrus, the wax crocodile. For those who have been following my previous video blogs and from the Rainbow Warriors February tour 2015 when we went to Sacred Site would know that I talk about the crocodile taking a bite out of Rainbow Serpent, and I just thought it was funny that the Westcar Papyrus talks about the wax crocodile and taking a bite. The story of the green jewel. Again, if you've been following the blogs, you would have heard me talk about the 20 virgins and the splitting of the seas that I saw up at the bay at Gosford, and having visions of that. And then I've read here in this Westcar Papyrus a similar story about a green jewel that falls into the sea and the sea splitting in two. Not sure if it's the same of what I've been channeling or if it's a different story, but again, all the things I've been seeing seem to line up to all of these kind of legends. And here's a photo I found of an Egyptian boat, and some sort of a priest or a king or a person splitting the seas. And the tool in his hand is quite interesting. Again, for those who've been following the blogs, I talk quite a lot about the High Priest and the one I've been communicating with, and about the Temple of Thoth and Thoth's scrolls. And here we have DG the Magician, where he talks about the scrolls, and he talks about the lion, and he talks about everything that I've been seeing through my visions. And I think it just backs up what all of these entities and spiritual guards and protectors are on the site. And this one refers to the miracle, how we can bring animals back to life, which we know from the shaman tree in the documentary I made about the shaman tree, and how I knew that there was a shaman or a magician that works with that tree, and how he works with the animals. So again, it's a good confirmation. And the birth of the royal children is also another West Car papyrus story, and what's happened with the kings and the royal bloodline. And how I was getting in one of the video blogs about Isis's daughters and her children. And this just gives a little bit more information. So with this one here, it's another tale or legend or truth, whatever you want to call it, about a woman who went down to the river and a servant girl, and got seized by a crocodile. So the West Car papyrus talks a lot about the crocodiles, and I know in Egyptian times and in the Nile there are a crocodile, a species of crocodile, which are quite aggressive crocodiles and are known for taking people. And isn't it funny that they're in Egypt and Africa and Australia, as once that all those continents were connected together, and that's how they travelled from Australia to go up into Africa and then up into Egypt, is where I see the people travelling from, not down from Egypt and down through Africa and down into Australia, but it was the other way around. From Australia they went up, and then of course when they made Egypt their home, they would also travel back down to Australia and do the things that they need to do, get their spiritual information and connect in with the wizard or the king's energy there, and get all the information that they needed. It was like a refuge place for them to go deep into their spirituality and then go back up through Africa and back up into Egypt. Thank you for watching and seeing the confirmations that I have. My last confirmation, or my last ending to this presentation, would be, I'm just wondering now whether or not Karagong hieroglyph site was actually a smaller prototype of the Great Pyramids at Giza. I wonder if that's what started the hieroglyphs and what started building pyramids, because it's definitely a very ancient site, and there was definitely high priests and scribes and kings and royal sons and birthing and legends and tales, and all the hieroglyphs that are found on that site have been found, as I've shown you in this presentation, on his ring and in the names. So it's definitely got that strong confirmation, but I'm just wondering if it's all was the beginning before ancient Egypt really took off, was the beginning was here in Australia. I'll leave that with you. Ponder for a while, like I have been. Blessings, everyone.